All right, guys, happy Wednesday. So Nick Fuentes, if you haven't heard of him, he is the leader of the online Groyper movement. Well, he got doxxed last week. That's a term meaning that his personal address was leaked online, and some feminist leftist activists decided to show up at his house, and one of them decided to ring the doorbell and confront him. Here is a picture of her. In response, Nick Fuentes pepper sprayed this woman. This woman that you're looking at right here, she got pepper sprayed. I'm not laughing, you're laughing. But, of course, the moral question that lays before us is whether or not that was the right reaction for him to have. We're going to discuss that. In related news, it looks like Trump's election has apparently pepper sprayed the ratings of MSNBC and CNN because they are now announcing mass layoffs and a corporate sale. It seems the era of government-sponsored propaganda is coming to an end. But first, promises made, promises kept. Because Donald Trump just announced an entirely new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which will focus on dismantling other government departments that we don't need, just wasteful spending. And it's going to be led by Vivek Ramaswamy and Elon Musk. And this is a very good time to remind you that when it comes to government spending, you simply do not hate these politicians enough. And I'm going to show you why. Welcome to Candace. Okay, before we get into it, right at the top, I just want to mention that the meeting happened. I mean, President Donald Trump, went for 2 hours to meet with Joe Biden in the Oval Office. And Melania Trump, our resident gangsta, completely blew off his wife, Joe Biden. There was no tea between Dr. Jill Biden and Melania. But yes, this meeting between, I would say the minds, but kind of, sort of, whatever's left of Joe Biden's mind and Donald Trump took place in the Oval Office. But I have to just show you very quickly this clip that's circulating, because just look at how happy Joe Biden looks. It's incredible. This is just the press approaching them after their meeting. Look at this. He's like a kid with his daddy. He's so happy. People are saying that they think that Joe Biden maybe voted for President Trump, and I think that that is totally plausible. I sense relief. He's just so tired of cosplaying the president of the United States. It's so embarrassing for him and his family. He can barely walk up the steps, and he's tripping and falling all the time, and he's just like, yay, I get to go onto a beach in Delaware forever and retire, and we are happy for you, Joe Biden, and we totally understand why you voted for Trump. All right, now back to business, because let me tell you something. Like I said at the top of the show, you do not hate your government enough. Like, I feel like my audience is very much aware and understands that we're pretty much just all slaves being run by a criminal, financial, and pharmaceutical global cartel. But I promise you that after this episode, your distaste for governance is going to scale to new heights because, okay, so let me just bring you up to speed. It's long been rumored that Trump would bring Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy into the new government. And now that he's won, much of what these two have said publicly about government in general and how they would fix it has grown increasingly relevant. So here is Elon Musk. This was just him last month during an appearance on the Tucker Carlson show. Listen to what he had to say.
Well, we just take a look at all the federal agencies and say, do we really need whatever it is, 428 federal agencies? Like, there's so many that people have never even heard of, and that have overlapping areas of responsibility. We should, I don't know, probably we should get. I mean, there are more federal agencies than there are years since the establishment of the United States, which means that we've created more than one federal agency per year on average. That seems a lot.
Tucker.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. So we should have, that seems crazy. I think we should be able to get away with 99 agencies. I don't know. That seems a lot like a lot of agencies.
It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
2 per state. That's a lot.
Yeah, exactly. We should have fewer agencies, and they certainly shouldn't have overlapping responsibilities. And then we need some kind of, we just need a review of regulations to say which ones are sensible and which ones are not.
So in case you missed it, we have 428 government agencies. Can you name them all? Can you name even 10 of them? I mean, it's just completely absurd to think that government has grown this big. And obviously, as government grows big, the individuals grow small because every time you're going to work, you got to pay these agencies. And you're going, what are they doing? We can't even get a pothole paved in time. We look everywhere across America. It's gotten so ugly. And as I said, we're just being taxed into oblivion. I mean, what exactly are these agencies doing? And this is one of the reasons, by the way, that I got involved, you might recall, very early on with Vivek Ramaswamy's presidential campaign. I really liked the fact that he was rich. Now, I know that you're probably going, you like that he was rich? Yes, because our minds are so warped about that. It is good to have wealthy people running for office because then you know that when you send them to DC, they're not going there to get rich. They've already made their money. And I like that he was speaking about this topic, how we needed to slash government budget. And you can also listen to him on Tucker Carlson. He went on a couple of months ago to speak about how we needed to fire all of these bureaucrats. Take a listen.
The mass deportation of millions of unelected federal bureaucrats out of the DC bureaucracy. And I do think that is what's going to save this country
But you
in the long
can't do
run.
that.
I think you actually can.
You can't fire. We
I
can
think-
all be fired. I've been fired many times. I'm sure you just lost a presidential race. Like we've all. The only group that cannot fail, that has actual tenure, is not Harvard professors.
Not even. Yep.
It's not even.
Yeah.
It's federal bureaucrats. No, Amy Wax just got. Tenure is no protection at all compared to the protection of federal employment.
So the one difference is, first of all, we have a president who I think has the spine to actually step up and do it. But the second thing is we actually have and not to get too, in the weeds here, but we actually have a legal landscape with the current Supreme Court that allows us to do what couldn't have been done in the last half
But
century.
they have a moral right to work from home 10 hours a week at our expense at a far higher wage than the average American.
Oh, absolutely. So the funny thing is,
But they have a moral right. You can't complain about
you
it.
actually brought up a really interesting dimension of this. If you literally just mandated that they have to actually show up to work Monday through Friday, I know, radical idea.
They don't go to work.
Actually, a good number of them would quit that way. Right. That step alone. So you don't even have to talk about, you want a mass firing, a mass exodus. Just tell them they have to come back 5 days a week from 8 p.m. to 6 p.m. Like many Americans, most Americans who work hard to earn a living in this country, just show up physically to work. You'd actually have about a 25% thinning out of the federal bureaucracy right there. So that's an easy first.
Okay, but we still haven't answered the question what exactly it is that all of these agencies are doing. So I don't know if you're aware of this. I mean, you guys might not be following government politics as much as I have been over the years, but Senator Rand Paul, who happens to be a legend, does this annual Festivus where he releases to the public a report on government waste. Okay, he just wants you to know what your government is actually spending money on. Okay. Are you ready to hate them forever? Because if you're listening to this after a long day of work, knowing that basically 45% of whatever it is that you earned is going to go to the government, let me tell you, you are about to be big mad because my jaw just hits the floor every time I learn this, the more that I learn about what we're spending on. Okay, I'm going to start slow. This is according to his report. According to the Office of Management Budget, the federal government spends more than $1.7 billion a year to maintain 77,000 empty buildings. Okay? $1.7 billion a year of our hard-earned taxpayer money is because they're like, we just don't want to get rid of these buildings, these 77,000 buildings. I guess they want to make sure that they have a real estate empire. We also, and you guys probably know this one, U.S. officials testified that $38 million in COVID payments went to people that the United States government absolutely knew were dead. $38 million went to dead people. How does that exactly work? What does that actually mean? Why does this always feel and sound like it is simply money laundering? It's going to get worse. I promise you, it's going to get so much worse. Then there's just tourism, where they just send money and millions. For example, the United States Agency for International Development approved sending $6 million to boost tourism in Egypt. Most people can't even afford a flight out of the country, but they want to make sure that in the event that you can afford a flight out of the country, that you consider maybe going to Egypt. So they send to Egypt money. And in total, we have spent $100 million on Egyptian tourism. Why does this feel like money laundering? Also, the NIH gave $2.3 million to inject beagle puppies with cocaine. Yeah, sweet little beagle puppies. They were like, hey, we are going to need $2.3 million to inject them with cocaine. And now I'm just thinking how much of that money went towards the cocaine? Why is the government so easily able to get cocaine? And what's going on here? What is the end goal here? Where, guess what? That wasn't even enough money, because even after getting all that money, they said that they didn't have the correct equipment to drug the puppies. So it sent the puppies over to a different laboratory, the same laboratory that had just received $13.5 million to inject monkeys with Ebola and tuberculosis and other deadly viruses. Okay, great. Now, just in case you're thinking this can't possibly get much worse, this is so insulting. Why am I working? Why are they taking my money at all? Just listen to Rand Paul explain more of the things that our government has spent money on, okay? Things that you have to go to work to support the agenda of. Like, they need to fund these very important programs. Take a listen.
In the early 1970s, William Proxmire, a conservative Democrat, pointed out that the National Science Foundation was spending $50,000 to study what makes people fall in love. Now, that's a better, I think, topic for Cosmopolitan magazine than it is for a government study. Nowadays, it's gone up. We spent $1 million having young people take selfies of themselves while smiling, and then looking at it later in the day to see if looking at pictures of yourself smiling makes you a happier person. That cost you $1 million. We spent $1.5 million studying the mating call of the Panamanian frog to see if the mating call of the country frogs was different than the city frogs. We spent nearly $1 million studying the Japanese quail to see if they're more sexually promiscuous when they're on cocaine. I think we could have just polled the audience on that one.
Oh, what? You've never wondered whether or not the Japanese quail was more sexually promiscuous after a couple of lines of cocaine? I mean, I wake up every day and I wonder that, if the Japanese quail. And I think it's important that we keep drugging these animals with cocaine. Like, I mean, I would just like the quails are just out there, like just like a totally being insane, because we're spending millions of dollars to figure out whether or not they are more sexually promiscuous. Why are we doing that? Are we even doing it? Are we saying we're doing it? Could you imagine $1 million spent given to people to take selfies so you could see whether or not, after looking at selfies of themselves, if they were happier? And exactly how are you measuring that happiness? Like, when are you measuring it? How does it actually work? Again, why does this always feel like they are just laundering money through organizations to people, more bureaucrats, of course, that are under their payroll, probably getting absurd salaries to do these sorts of things. Also, maybe dabbling in a little of the cocaine themselves. 'Cause I'm going to guess if you're going to spend millions of dollars on cocaine, maybe the staff is a little hyper that's working on these things. I just can't believe it. It is crazy to consider that these are the things that we spend money on every single year. And it's funny, but it's also not, when you're in an economy like the one that we have been in for the last 4 years, where people feel like they're getting robbed when they go to the grocery store. Like, you get 2 items and we're like, $1,000, please. You're like, I literally have a bag of chips. How is this $1,000? Anyways, so Trump decided to put an end to that, and he hired some rich guys to do it. Elon Musk, Vivek Ramaswamy, like I said, makes total sense, because these guys aren't going to go to D.C. to try to make themselves rich. In a statement that he delivered on Truth Social, Trump officially named both of them to the newly minted Department of Government Efficiency. Here is what he had to say. I'm pleased to announce that the great Elon Musk, working in conjunction with the American patriot Vivek Ramaswamy, will lead the Department of Government Efficiency. Together, these two wonderful Americans will pave the way for my administration to dismantle government bureaucracy, slash excess regulations, cut wasteful expenditures, and restructure federal agencies essential to the Save America movement. It will become potentially the Manhattan Project of our time. It's this last paragraph that's even more impressive, because he says at the end of it, their work will conclude no later than July 4th, 2026. A smaller government with more efficiency and less bureaucracy will be the perfect gift to America. On the 250th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence, I am confident they will succeed. Yes, like, that just makes me feel so good and patriotic to hear that, because this was not our founding fathers' dream. Okay, they understood that taxation was theft. And when taxation was introduced, I mean, income tax is theft. And it was introduced, it was because, oh, well, it's going to be temporary. It's because there's a war, and we therefore have to tax you guys so that we can win it. And then, of course, they never, ever, ever undo these things. They never undo these temporary things that they say are being put into place for our safety or so that we can win a temporary war. Wars just never end. And so to hear him make that pledge is a major promise made. And I have all the faith in the world. I don't know Elon Musk, but I have all the faith in the world in Vivek Ramaswamy because I really got to see his vision, his energy, his focus. He's absolutely brilliant. And I am so glad that Trump and him are able to partner on this with Elon Musk to get this done. It's going to be big. I'm telling you guys, this is something to look out for. So be happy, be glad. At least some things are going our way. Maybe not everything, but I'm telling you, these next 2 years, we just won the House officially. It took forever to announce it, but we won the House. We've got the Senate. We've got the presidency. These next 2 years are going to be fun, you guys. All right, pausing really quickly to remind you about preborn, because in many ways this past election brought abortion to the forefront. There are many states that have radicalized abortion, and thousands of babies will continue to lose their lives, which is why the Ministry of Preborn, the nation's largest pro-life organization, is on the front lines for at-risk babies and mothers who are facing unplanned pregnancies. Preborn's network of clinics are positioned in the highest abortion rate areas in the country, equipping them with the resources they need to save these precious lives and provide compassionate support to mothers for up to 2 years after birth, all at no cost. Preborn knows that when a woman sees her baby on an ultrasound, she is twice as likely to choose life. Because of this, our year-end goal is to sponsor 20,000 ultrasounds, saving over 15,000 babies. So I hope that you will help us reach this goal. It costs just $28 to sponsor one ultrasound. Any gift, whether large or small, will go towards life. And now Preborn will match your gift, doubling the amount. So please donate. Just dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that is pound 250 baby. Or you can go to preborn.com/Candace. Again, that is preborn.com/Candace. Okay, this Nick Fuentes story, it's a pretty interesting predicament. So I'll let you know what happened and give you the backstory and the lead up to this activist, feminist activist showing up at his door. Okay, so basically, right after Donald Trump won, there was a lot of trolling, a lot of trolling that happened online. I participated, obviously, because it just felt like a major win after the celebrities were all crying and basically just so presumptuous about the way that Americans would vote, because Beyonce was here and J-Lo was here and LeBron said something. So we had a little fun in the first 24 hours. And part of this was a lot of men on the right, conservative men, were trolling the left by pretending that all of their worst nightmares were actually coming true. My former colleague, Matt Walsh, was one of these men. Here's what he tweeted. He wrote, "Now that the election is over, I think we can finally say that, yeah, actually, Project 2025 is the agenda. LOL." And I saw this all over the news. He was in the Daily Mail. They're like, "Oh my gosh, we knew it was real." And it was very funny that the reporters took him literally. He has nothing to do with the administration. He has no idea what their agenda is, but they were obviously in a bit of an emotional spiral, so they took this to be legit. Similarly, Elijah Schaefer tweeted this. He wrote, come on guys, this is funny. He wrote, "Starting in January, it will be the law for women to dress like this." And he has women lined up dressed in Handmaid's Tale outfits, and people freaked out and were going, "Oh my gosh, they're finally showing their hand. We told you guys you had to vote to avoid this, and now they're telling you that we're all going to have to wear these costumes." But the left couldn't pick up on this troll. And Nick Fuentes kind of won the troll when he tweeted this. He tweeted, "Your body, my choice, forever." Look how many views. That tweet has 93.8 million views. It caused a firestorm, and people were reporting on it as if it was legitimate, as if he has any connection to the Trump campaign, or he's going to be suddenly become a person that is going to be named to a position. They freaked out, lost their minds. And then what happened in response was some leftist activists decided to figure out where he lived, and they posted his address online. So Nick got doxxed. They said, here is his address. One young woman, actually, she's 57 years old, an older woman, or a middle-aged woman, you could say, who describes herself as a vegan feminist agitator, decided to go to his property. Her name is Marla Rose, and she decided to take it further. She wasn't just outside stalking the property. She decided to ring his doorbell and to confront him. And we know this, by the way, this is not hearsay. This is not allegedly. This woman then went on her Facebook and bragged about what she had done. She did not expect Nick Fuentes to have the reaction that he did. He pepper sprayed her. He literally pepper sprayed her. And she has the footage. She has released the footage. And I'm going to show you that footage now. Take a watch and listen.
Hi. Oh my God. What are you doing?
And so it looks like her phone got inside somehow. She says that like he grabbed her phone and he pepper sprayed her. And in an interview with Vice, because she was giving interviews immediately after, she says that what happened was she was outside of his house taking videos and taking photos. I don't know to what end. Again, likely because she was a part of the group of people that were doxing him. She had previously posted his address onto Facebook, but Facebook had taken it down. And she said while she was taking these videos and photos, another woman who was also stalking him outside said something to her to the effect of, "Is this where that douchebag lives? You should ring his doorbell and find out." And then she told Vice that it felt like a dare. So she walked up to the front door. She says there's no laws in our state against doing that. There were no trespassing signs or no solicitor signs. There was no gate that wasn't opened or a fence. So she felt that she was allowed to do that. And she had barely touched the doorbell when he flung the door open and sprayed her with pepper spray or mace or whatever. And when asked if she was going to press charges, she said that from what I can understand, I have a number of months to decide, and I'm still trying to decide. I don't want to end up in a gulag now that Trump's elected. Okay, so people were kind of debating like whether or not this was the right thing to do, and they were showing pictures of her, and she's got like now very crazy colored hair. And some people were saying, well, this is a 57-year-old woman and she's not a threat. And I just really beg to differ with that. I'm sorry. Was I the only person that was alive through Antifa when a bunch of like nothing was more terrifying than like a group of people marching with purple hair with the crazed look in their eye who were doing things like throwing chairs into restaurants, setting fire to certain things. And these were people that looked flimsy and harmless, but they were just radicalized by the idea of hating Trump and hating Trump supporters. And here's the deal. These are, and I live in a state that, by the way, you can stand your ground. And I'm saying this now as a parent and as a mother, if a person put my address up on the internet and then decided to ring the doorbell after taking videos and taking pictures, and I see you talking to somebody outside and I've got kids on the inside, the best case scenario would be that you just got maced. That would be the best case scenario. Because in a stand your ground state, we could just shoot you. Like she could have actually ended up shot had this have happened somewhere like Florida or Texas or Tennessee. This is not a smart thing for people to be able to do. And like I said, to assume that somebody is harmless when you know that they are already so crazed that they're putting your address and signaling to other people that they should go to your address over a troll online, that is a very light assumption. It is not an assumption that I would make. And it's funny because the cop who I guess was on the scene sort of recognized this. Like, why are you complaining about what's happened here when you put yourself in this predicament? She shared this, Marla Rose, that is, shared this on her Facebook page. She wrote, the cop actually had the nerve when I asked about pressing charges to say, for what? I said, dumbfounded, for assault. And he was like, well, you went to his door. Yeah. Thank you, base cop. This is just one of those things where people are just looking to be oppressed and looking to get into trouble and trying to see if there are laws that will allow them to say that they were the victim when they are the ones that are starting the confrontation. You could have just scrolled past the tweet or understood that people were just trolling and being extreme because they were trying to make it seem like all of your MSNBC, CNN nightmares were reality, when in fact they were not. So Judge Candace says that she got lucky that she just got maced, and it could have been so much worse if she had appeared on the doorstep of someone who was in full mama bear mode. And that I just can't even imagine. I would spend at least one night in prison, but I would sleep so well on that jail floor, that cement floor. I would sleep so well knowing that I defended my kids and know that the law was on my side in a state like Tennessee. You just don't make people feel threatened by showing up at their homes with crazed eyes and purple hair. All right, guys, before we get into what's going on over at MSNBC, also, I see you guys speaking about Tulsi Gabbard's appointment in the chat. And yeah, there's been a lot of appointments. I'm going to get to that in the comment section. But I just want to remind you guys about Nimi, because this episode is sponsored by Nimi Skincare, my favorite skincare brand out there. They've come to be known as America's skincare company because they formulate and manufacture all of their skincare products here in the USA while supporting pro-American causes and organizations. Nimi Skincare is American luxury skincare delivered directly to your door at an affordable price. Nimi has everything you need to rebuild an awesome daily skincare regimen to cleanse, brighten, and protect, plus help the fight the key signs of aging. Another reason that I love Nimi is that they are a Christian-led company that stands firm in their values of faith, family, and freedom. And if you sign up right now at NimiSkincare.com for a subscription to save 15% on your routine, you will also save an additional 5% if you use code Candace at checkout. Plus, you'll receive a free gift on every third order. So if you aren't sure where to start, you can take their skincare quiz to find the perfect routine for your skin. That's NIMI, NimiSkincare.com. Promo code Candace today. Okay, so MSNBC is facing a major ratings plunge after Trump's election victory, as more than half of their primetime audience flees. So this is an exodus. This is an MSNBC exodus. Their primetime viewership has plunged 54% in the days after Donald Trump won. And they are owned by Comcast, by the way, which used to draw a daily average of 1.1 million viewers throughout October. And now they are seeing their audience shrink to a daily average of 736,000. And so they are realizing that this is not going to work long term. This amounted to a 31% drop after Trump's decisive victory. And that's not it. It's their primetime shows, including, I never even heard of this, Alex Wagner Tonight, All In with Chris Hayes, and The Last Word with Lawrence O'Donnell. They dropped 54% in viewership, according to Nielsen data. And their primetime ratings in the days after election have fallen 51% from its year-to-date totals, while Fox News ratings rose 58% in the same period. Now, this is shocking to really nobody. I'm actually shocked that they're still on the air. Just these years of Trump, it really is something that boggles my mind that anybody is still watching MSNBC or CNN. And if they're looking for a reason as to why, while we have all of these podcasts that are now topping the charts that have a larger audience than they have, and they're trying to work the equation, is it misinformation? Is it disinformation? Why does nobody want to listen to us anymore? I always think it's good to take a trip down memory lane and to watch MSNBC as they were, which I would say was at their peak, and this peak continued for years to follow, the first time that Donald Trump was elected president of the United States. Let me do a flashback to this amazing clip that will never get old. Take a listen.
America is crying tonight. I'm not sure how much of America, but a very, very significant portion, and I mean literally crying.
Everybody is crying and so upset, and it is the end of their world.
Feels like the end of the world.
We were on Lifetime last night, and I was slowly getting drunk is what happened to me.
How do we explain how this is possible?
How did this happen? Experienced politician versus racist fake gynecologist.
Get your abortions now, because we're going to be and we're going to have to live with it.
You're awake, by the way. You're not having a terrible, terrible dream. Also, you're not dead and you haven't gone to hell. This is your life now. This is our election now. This is us. This is our country.
This is a different Earth today than it was 24 hours ago. It's a different place. Because it just is different.
The woman who President Obama called the most qualified person ever to run for the White House couldn't break through. The question remains, who can?
Deeper concerns tonight that the world's shining light of democracy has gone dark.
Decency lost last night, and that's what's so hurtful about this.
This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes.
So yeah, you could just watch a soap network opera. I think that's pretty much what their viewers have realized. If I'm going to watch this, I might as well just watch a soap opera network. And like I said, they have kept this up more or less. We saw this obviously through this election night. They're so dramatic. They're so over the top. They pretend the world is ending. And then the world just keeps not ending. Like they pretending that it's all over. And then it keeps not all being over. So yes, the viewership is down. CNN is announcing mass layoffs right now. They're saying that they have to cut back on spending. And somebody asked me earlier, I went on Neil Oliver's show and he said, do you think that they can turn it around? You know, if they fire the right people and hire the right people? And my honest answer is no, because once you betray trust, it's really hard to get it back. And it has been too long. Like they have called people racists, sexists, white supremacists, and misogynists for a solid 8 years now. 8 years, really, since Trump came down that escalator in 2015, they have admonished the public, told them that everything that they think is wrong and backwards. And you're not just going to magically wipe that slate in people's minds and just have Jeff Bezos write a letter and say, hey, no one's listening to us anymore. I appreciate the effort. I think it was a tremendously humble moment from Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post for him to say and admit that they have gotten things wrong. I can see already now the reporting is kind of changing and they're speaking about podcasting in a more favorable light. I actually got good coverage in Vanity Fair, or fair coverage, not even good coverage, but fair coverage twice last week in Vanity Fair. And I was going, okay, the editors are now trying to turn the page, but it is too late. Like, Americans no longer trust you and it's completely over, which is why nobody actually cares that Don Lemon is announcing that he's leaving X. And you can imagine his reasons. His reasons are the terms of service is unfair. Let me just let Don Lemon put it in his own words. Take a listen.
Hi, everyone. I
Hi,
have
Don.
loved connecting with all of you on Twitter and then on X for all of these years. But it's time for me to leave the platform. I once believed that it was a place for honest debate and discussion, transparency and free speech. But I now feel it does not serve that purpose. In addition, starting this Friday, November 15th, X is implementing new terms of service, which, among other things, states that, quote, all disputes be brought exclusively in the U.S. District Court for the Northern District of Texas or state courts located in Tarrant County, Texas, end quote. The full terms of service can be found on my written statement or on the X website. Now, as the Washington Post recently reported on X's decision to change the terms, this, quote, ensures that such lawsuits will be heard in courthouses that are a hub for conservatives, which experts say could make it easier for X to shield itself from litigation and punish critics. I think that speaks for itself. You can find me on YouTube at The Don Lemon Show.
That's my favorite part. So he says that, oh, yeah, there's now in the terms of service that you have to sue them in Texas, and Texas believes in free speech, and that speaks for itself. Then he tells you to find him on YouTube. Guess what YouTube's terms of service say? Yeah, YouTube's terms of service say that you have to sue them. If you're going to bring a court claim forward, you have to sue them in California. So they're hypocrites. They just can't stop being hypocrites. And they just think people are too stupid to figure them out. And in reality, they're just not happy that free speech is winning and that freedom is winning and that they are losing. And it's going to be just such an exciting 2 years before we have midterms, 2 years where we know that we have the House, guys, we have the Senate, and we have the Oval Office, and Trump better do some damage. I do want to say this because I know everyone's feeling a bit mixed about his picks. It's one second, it's such an amazing pick, and you're going, oh my gosh, yes, this is lovely, and then suddenly you're scratching your head, and you're like, Marco Rubio. What on why Marco Rubio? And you're feeling like there's neocons that have infiltrated, and then suddenly there's an America First person. And I'm trying to work through what I think is happening. Look, I think Trump took money to run. We know he took money to run. He took $100 million. And I think that comes with some agreements, some quiet agreements. And I think that he is getting pressure from people to make good on $100 million. And so he's going to have to give them something. And, they wanted Mike Pompeo, who, as we showed you yesterday, is one of the most corrupt politicians, former CIA members ever, who's guilty, at least believing what Tucker Carlson is telling you, guilty of trying to plot the murder of someone who he simply had a disagreement with, Julian Assange. And so I think they are trying to get the deep state back in there. And Trump is fighting it the best way that he knows how, with safeguard appointments, like putting in Matt Gaetz, putting in Tulsi Gabbard, putting in people that he knows actually hate the deep state. I mean, Matt Gaetz was a victim of the deep state. So that's an incredible appointment. He is as America First as it possibly gets, because he saw how they tried to harm him and ruin his life with lies. And so I think what Trump is doing is basically putting in place checks and balances. And that's going to have to be enough for now. Is it going to be perfect? Nope, it's not going to be perfect. I'm going to be real with you. I'm not going to be one of these people that just cheerleads every appointment or stays quiet about the ones that I think absolutely suck. But he's the best we've got, and it's looking pretty good. With Vivek Ramaswamy, Elon Musk, Tulsi Gabbard now in there. He's got to get RFK Jr. in there on health. Trust me, it seems like internally they're already waging a war. So take the wins. Understand that the wins are going to, I believe, be sufficient over these next 2 years to see some major changes. And as long as he begins that process, by the time we get to 2028, I think we're going to be full-blown America First. So Let's celebrate the wins. All right, before I get to some of your comments, or rather this last story I want to cover, I'm going to remind you about American financing, because I know that there are so many people that are feeling overwhelmed right now thinking about the upcoming holidays. It's hard to think about when everything's more expensive and credit cards are being pushed to the max. So now is the time to pay off that debt and get your finances under control before the holiday season. So if you are a homeowner, American Financing can help you access the equity in your home for instant savings. They are saving homeowners just like you an average of $800 a month. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments, giving you an extra holiday fund. It costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you could be saving. Christmas will be here before you know it. So call American Financing salary-based mortgage consultants today. Call today at 800-795-1210. That's 800-795-1210. Or you can visit AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's AmericanFinancing.net/Owens. Okay, gotta show you this video because my sister sent it to me, and it's so sweet, and it's gonna put you in a really good mood before I get into some of your questions. This is young Laura Dalton, who does not think that I saw her video that is circulating on YouTube. And I think this just feels good for us to see, because I think Gen Z is the hope. They really are. They are waking up, and that is why you are seeing these wolves in government fight the hardest, or like animals backed into a corner, realizing that they're losing touch with the younger generation, and the younger generation is the future. Laura Dalton posted this onto YouTube. Take a listen.
Hey everybody. So I just had the compulsion to make this video because it's been sitting on my mind, and hopefully this reaches the right person that I'm trying to target this at. I just want to say a huge shout out and a huge thank you to Candace Owens and all of the work that you put in. So I've started listening to your podcast every time you submit or upload a new video. And it's really helped me in so many ways to learn about the reality of our government, especially. I've heard about a lot of these things, and I've done my own independent research, and it's crazy that once you look into what's actually happening behind the scenes, once you just do a little bit of research, you really realize that we are served an image of reality on a cookie platter, and it is so far from the truth. It's so far cherry-picked to fit lies. And so I just want to say thank you, Candace Owens, for continuing to speak the truth. I know a lot of people are really rooting for you, and your audience continues to grow. I believe you're doing the right thing. I have personally prayed for you and your well-being and your safety, because I do think that you are exposing a lot of deep lies, and the further you continue to go down the path that you're on, the larger your audience will grow, which is great, but it's also very threatening to the people who are telling the lies. So just know that God's looking after you, and that no weapon formed against you shall prosper, which I know you probably know. But yeah, I just wanted to say personally, thank you very much. My name is Lauren. Yeah, I'm here in Northwest Arkansas, so maybe you'll see this video, maybe you won't.
Look at that. Not only did I see this video, I have now put it onto the show. So she's going to see that. You guys, you can support her. We'll put a link so that you can give her a comment and just give her some love and tell her that she's on the right track. I feel like our Gen Z kids are just, like I said, they have got their heads screwed on right. They know what is happening. They don't believe the legacy media. They've turned that off. And they're making me feel so optimistic. And so if you wonder why I'm so happy every day, I'm like, look at that, man. Look at what's happening. I know it seems crazy because you have people that have platforms like CNN and MSNBC that are shrieking, but nobody's listening to them anymore. We're winning. She is proof that we are absolutely winning. So be happy, carry that into the day. I had to give you something happy to listen to and wholesome after I went through our government spending, because I know some of you guys were going, I'm never paying a single dollar in tax ever again. Put me into prison. All right, guys, let's read some of your comments regarding episodes past. Actually, not episodes past. Let's just do live comments right now. Sarah writes, over $250 billion to Israel with U.S. tax dollars. Don't forget that expense. Also, thank you for my Connect response. Yeah, I mean, it's completely crazy. I don't understand how people can genuinely say, Israel has a right to defend itself. Okay, but can it defend itself without American money? Because I'm just so tired of everyone being a welfare recipient and us being told that we're supposed to be okay with this when Americans can't fill up their tanks. Can't fill up our gas tanks, and our money is being sent overseas so that other people, we can't even get secure borders. We're like, no, your job is to send money over so that Israel can have secure borders. I'm like, what kind of friendship is this? What do we get back? That's my question. I know it's a question that you're not allowed to ask, so wipe it from the record. Adam Robin writes, girl, I'm gay. I like dudes. If you were single, I'd definitely consider switching teams for real. Make America straight again. Okay. I am very happy that I can make gay guys go straight. Make America straight again. This person writes, do you ever fear for the safety of your kids or husband because of you speaking up? Love you. Listen, I understand that you can get a wackadoodle. You guys loved that yesterday. You guys never heard of wackadoodle. And then my team told me that that is an exclusively Northeastern term. So yes, you can get a wackadoodle here or there. And the reality is they're only powerful in numbers. And I really am someone that if you effed around, you would probably find out. Like, I am not afraid of these lefty loonies. And that's in my own personal capacity. You put my kids in any kind of risk, and I think I would like transfigure into an animal. Like, I would turn into a dragon and be able to breathe fire. I would just be out there breathing fire. You know what I would turn into? I would turn into a Japanese quail on cocaine. That's what I would turn into. 100%. 100%. That's what the studies are for. They want to see what Candace will turn into if they approach her and her children. Next question. Skitten Hund writes, esthetician here. How does Nimi compare to Dermalogica? I have never used Dermalogica, so I cannot compare that for you. Ivy writes, would you be Trump's press secretary? You would be the best. If not, who would you like to see? Well, I would be the press secretary. I would have so much fun being the press secretary, but it is probably likely not going to happen since I've ruffled AIPAC's feathers by saying that we should not be they should not be able to lobby and spend hundreds of millions of dollars during our election. I don't believe in lobbying. I think that it should be banned. And so that means I am persona non grata, I would imagine, as a press secretary, which is totally fine. I have already said that I am voting for Alex Jones. I think America deserves that. It would be the perfect comeback tour. And he is actually probably over-equipped for the job. If you think about the fact that he's been broadcasting for so many years, he's been following the government, he understands the government, decades he's been on air covering the government. It would be amazing, and we would all be watching it like it was Game of Thrones. So that is my vote for press secretary. Otherwise, I loved Kayleigh McEnany. I thought she was a class act, and I just don't think we've had a better press secretary, at least in my memory. My memory is not great, but in my memory, that Kayleigh McEnany really was the tippity top. Lexia writes, Candace 2028. All right, guys, here's the deal. I'm not keen on running for office, but I will give you this promise right now. If you can get Thomas Massie to run, I will run with Thomas Massie in 2028. Like, that's it. That's my guy. That's my candidate. I will do anything. I've said many times, I will crawl over broken glass to vote for this man. If you don't know enough about him, you need to research him. The fact that even when he was young, he was on a show called Top Geek, that he's wired his whole farm in Kentucky so that it's sustainable. He fights the USDA. I mean, he should be named, by the way. He should absolutely be named as agricultural secretary to the Trump administration. But similarly, he's ruffled some feathers at AIPAC, and so I don't think that would happen. In fact, I think Trump should name him to show people that he's not owned by AIPAC, because a lot of people feel that way. They're thinking, well, you took $100 million from Adelson. Does this mean that you are now being controlled? And a strong sign, a strong signal that he is not being controlled would be to name that incredibly qualified congressman from Kentucky as the agricultural secretary. I just love Thomas Massie. And if he called me and said, do you want to run? I said, I would be like, let's run this whole thing. Let's just run this whole thing. By the way, you guys, quick update on A Shot in the Dark, because I get so many people that are asking. We had some issues getting the files, and we have resolved those issues. So Shot in the Dark episode 2 is now available on Locals. That is covering the vitamin K shot. And as I promised you guys, next year we're going to have our whole new online network thing that you'll be able to go to look really pretty. It's going to look just like YouTube, but even prettier. And you'll be able to download the entire series of A Shot in the Dark. So not a very long wait to go. I think my husband said it'll be ready January 15th because he's the brains, he sees the brains of the whole operation. By the way, if you would like to support this show in its capacity to keep our freedom, since we are demonetized on YouTube, you can head to candace.locals.com and support us in whatever capacity that you can. You can go to clubcandace.com, get yourself a mug, a Standis cup. That's another way to show your support. We are eternally grateful for all of your support thus far. It's been amazing to just be at the top of the Spotify chart since we started this thing, and really had kind of no idea what we were doing other than the fact that we wanted to be doing it. And so that's why We are just, like I said, eternally grateful to all of you. I don't think there's anything else that I'm missing. Reminding you, if you purchase tickets to our Australia tour, we've bumped those dates into Q1 of next year, so you do not have to return those. We are fighting, and we feel confident that the appellate process will be favorable to us, given how clinically insane what Tony Burke did was before I had even applied to my visa. He said it was denied. Very strange man, very strange place, very strange times. But anyways, you guys, we will see you guys tomorrow.